If you thought Bezos, Musk, or Zuckerberg were the biggest billionaire bullies around, think again. There are lots of other billionaires that make these three look like small fry. Sure, running a massive money-hungry corporation is harmful, but you know what's worse? Exploiting war-torn nations, running human trafficking rings, and orchestrating pharmaceutical scandals. And well, the people on this list have done all this and much more. So stick around to find out about some of the biggest billionaire bullies on this planet. Jeffrey Epstein. There really is no one better that fits the title of a billionaire bully than Epstein himself. While most of you Zoomers might know him from the Epstein didn't kill himself meme, the truth is the man is absolutely vile. Jeffrey started out as a teacher in New York, teaching physics and math. Eventually, he decided he wanted to make some big dough, so he joined the finance sector in 1976. This helped him make a ton of connections. His elaborate network of people basically got him loaded with cash, so much so that he eventually bought an island. And what exactly did he do with this fantastical piece of land, you might wonder? Turns out he created his very own amusement park. Well, of sorts. You see, Epstein apparently thought it would be a good idea to run a human trafficking ring in his very own backyard. Over numerous years, this man trafficked underage girls over to his properties. And let's just say they weren't exactly studying math back there. He was finally convicted in 2008 with an arrest much later in 2019. Once in jail, he supposedly unalived himself, but let's be real, there's probably some truth behind all those memes. You see, people say Epstein's network of, let's just say, business friends included a bunch of notable men from the media and entertainment industry. And so it's possible they wanted to shut him up before they ended up locked in right next to him. With billionaires, the darker secret, the more dangerous the game. Now, if you think Epstein is evil, at least he's gone and dealt with. There are billionaires out there whose damage is still very visible nowadays. Prepare to be shocked by the sinister deeds of this next billionaire family. The Sackler Family. These folks basically gave America a crash course on how to turn a nation's pain into profit and a public health crisis into their personal piggy bank. The Sackler brothers were three psychiatrists with a dream. To make the world a better place? No. To help out the poor and needy? Nope. To own a pharmaceutical company and push drugs with tactics that would make even the shadiest car salesman cringe? Ding, 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 jackpot. In 1952, they bought a company that later be turned into Purdue Pharma. This is the birthplace of OxyContin, or as it's known in Sackler speak, our ticket to unimaginable wealth and societal ruin. This became one of the biggest pharmaceutical scandals in history. Arthur Sackler, the marketing mastermind, was a pioneer, but not the kind you read about in history books. He pioneered the art of aggressive pharmaceutical advertising. Think Mad Men, but with a lot more deception and a lot less charm. When OxyContin rolled out on the streets in the 1990s, it was marketed as a revolutionary painkiller that was less addictive and safer than other medications. Spoiler alert, it was neither. The Sackler family used manipulated data to falsely claim OxyContin was safe and non-addictive, leading to widespread opioid addiction and abuse. Purdue's sales reps were like the telemarketers of the medical world. They were pushing this supposedly safe drug without mentioning the one teeny tiny downside they all knew it had: addiction and overdoses. A downside that would later devastate tons of lives. Of course, this didn't go unnoticed. States, cities, and individuals began to fight back, launching lawsuits left and right. But it was too late because millions had already been addicted to this drug. So why did these billionaires outright lie to the public? Well, duh, cold hard cash, baby. Even though their company declared bankruptcy in 2019, the Sacklers are still living in luxury. They are, quite literally, getting away with murder. But there are plenty of other billionaires that make you question your faith in humanity. Consider this next one, for example. The unnamed vulture capitalist. Simply put, this billionaire is a vulture. Not the noble carrion-eating kind that helps you clean up the environment, but the hedge fund variety. He's a predator who feasts on the financially wounded of the world's poorest nations. Now, in the world of hedge funds, a vulture capitalist is the term for financiers who buy up the rights to old, uncollectible loans of impoverished countries. Then they deploy every dirty trick in the book to wring out every last drop of foreign aid. Enter this unnamed hedge fund, which bought, for next to nothing, the rights to collect several $1 million owed by Liberia. This debt was handed off by the likes of J.P. Morgan Chase, who prefer not to get their hands dirty with such unseemly tasks. In February 2002, this hedge fund swooped in, suing Liberia for a long-forgotten loan, demanding compounded interest and fees. This was the very week Liberia's capital, Monrovia, was under siege by warlords. And the whole country had no electricity, no water, and a government controlled by an escaped convict, Charles Taylor, now residing in The Hague, courtesy of the international justice system. Surprise, surprise, neither Taylor nor any Liberian representatives showed up in the New York court, resulting in a default judgment that awarded this hedge fund and its partners all the millions they sought. Sounds kind of like a scam, right? Well, that's kind of what this unnamed billionaire does. This guy is like the bully who'd steal your lunch money and then beat you up for not having enough. We're leaving this billionaire unnamed for the simple reason that we don't want to end up as the next target of his vulture-like tactics and get sued. You know, just trying to stay off the menu. But look it up. It's all true. Now, we've talked about some serious billionaire bullies so far, but what do you get when you cross a billionaire and a murderer? Well, you'd get the next person on our list. Robert Durst. As a child, Robert had everything going for him. A family name, limitless wealth, and endless potential. And somehow he ended up messing it all up. Turns out the guy had a bit of a habit of committing crimes, like straight up serial killer crimes. Durst kicked off his criminal career with rich kid antics, skipping town to avoid charges, dressing in drag to evade capture, and pretending to be mute in a $300 a month Galveston apartment. Yeah, he was weird. But it looks like Durst didn't stop there, because his activities took a really dark turn when, in 1982, his wife Kathy suddenly disappeared. Even though most people pointed their fingers at Robert, he somehow got away with it. Funny what a few $1 billion can do, huh? But then, all of a sudden, Susan Berman, one of Durst's confidants, got murdered in 2000 right before she was set to talk to investigators about Kathy's disappearance. It was blindly obvious to everyone that Durst was behind this, even to blind people. But instead of laying low, Robert decided to go kill again. This time, he murdered his neighbor, Morris Black, in 2001. The dude was doing it just to pass the time at this point. Luckily, he ended up being caught this time around. But somehow, thanks to a stellar legal team, he was acquitted, spinning a tale of self-defense that somehow explained the headless torso in the bay. Money, people. It's how the world works. Finally, in the ultimate billionaire bully flex, Durst starred in HBO's The Jinx, convinced of his invincibility. The series ended with his off-camera confession. What the hell did I do? Killed them all, of course. Mic drop. Or, in Durst's case, a bathroom mic drop. Finally, the law caught up with Durst. In 2015, he was arrested in New Orleans on a murder warrant related to Susan Berman's death. In 2021, he was found guilty of her murder. So it looks like even billionaires can only dodge justice for so long. And the same can be said for this next guy, Alan Stanford. Much like many other billionaires on this list, Alan's biggest downfall ended up being his cute little habit of lying. Turns out, when you're lying to investors about millions upon millions of dollars, then it becomes less of a quirky habit and more of an easy way to ruin your entire life. Stanford was always a shitty businessman. Like, his early ventures were the stuff of legend. If by legend you mean failed real estate deals and dubious financial schemes. But hey, every bully needs a backstory, right? So, Alan dusted himself off and set his sights on the sunny Caribbean, where his ambitions could soar without the pesky interference of strict regulations. He founded Stanford International Bank in Antigua, promising returns that drove investors wild. Who wouldn't trust a bank headquartered on a tropical island in the middle of nowhere? But Stanford wasn't just selling investments, he was selling a lifestyle. He sponsored cricket tournaments, hobnobbed with celebrities, and even received a knighthood. Yes, Sir Alan Stanford, the billionaire bully in shining armor, wielding financial statements like a sword to dupe investors. It'd be the perfect tale of a guy making a comeback after a few failures, if it wasn't a complete fraud. Eventually, whispers of irregularities turned into shouts of fraud as it became apparent that the promised returns were fake AF. The SEC finally crashed the party in 2009, revealing Stanford's operation for what it was, a $7 billion Ponzi scheme. And in a heartbeat, all those fancy offices, celebrity endorsements, and the god-awful cricket fields were swept away like a wave on a tropical island. Stanford was arrested and eventually sentenced to 110 years in prison. But hey, maybe he'll be out by 2100, living it up on some island again. Probably just as a skeleton, though. Finally, there's one other billionaire I'm sure you've heard of before. Vince McMahon. If they ever had a competition for billionaire bullies, you can be sure Vince would be strutting down the aisle with his theme song blazing. Born with dramatics in his veins, Vince transformed the wrestling world into his personal empire. But in his wake, he left behind tons of broken dreams and destroyed careers. Now, while he might have made WWE hugely successful, let's not forget that he inherited it as a family business from his father. At the time, it was just a small, humble startup, but Vince had huge aspirations for it. Think pyrotechnics, scantily clad divas, and steroid-enhanced superstars. Let's just say, when I call this guy a bully, I mean it. His management style was like a cross between a Roman emperor and a mob boss. Wrestlers are bound by contracts that make indentured servitude look appealing. Injuries? Part of the game. Just rub some dirt on it and get back in the ring. Complaints? Save them for the unemployment line. But it doesn't stop there. Vince was notorious for playing favorites, burying talented wrestlers who didn't fit his vision, and even humiliating employees on live television for the sake of ratings. He famously fired longtime announcer Jim Ross on air, making a spectacle out of a respected figure's dismissal. Wrestlers who crossed him, like Bret Hart, faced public betrayals known as the infamous Montreal Screwjob, where Vince orchestrated a title loss without Hart's knowledge. And unsurprisingly, under the glitz and glamour lies a dark underbelly of scandals. Steroid abuse ran rampant, with Vince himself famously accused during a federal trial in the early 90s. Yet, like a true heel, he emerged unscathed, flexing his legal muscles and body slamming the justice system. He also faced multiple allegations of covering up sexual harassment and misconduct within the company, creating a toxic work environment where victims were silenced and perpetrators were protected. What makes the guy a total ass is the fact that he's a completely unapologetic bully. Sure, he's not nearly in the same league as someone like Epstein, but let's not forget that, unlike many others on this list, Vince still walks around free of charge, despite, the serious harm to many people's lives he's done over the years. From Jeffrey Epstein's human trafficking ring to the Sackler family's pharmaceutical scandal, these billionaire bullies have wreaked havoc on society. The unnamed Vulture capitalist preys on the world's poorest nations, while Alan Stanford's Ponzi scheme left investors high and dry. These stories remind us that behind the glitz and glamour, the world of the ultra-rich can be alarmingly dark. Let me know what you guys think, and be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more videos where we bully the bullies.